So let's talk through what we have coming up here in the next couple weeks because things are very quickly drawing to a close. Okay, so this week is a busy week for you guys, and I went ahead and I stretched out the due date for some of the assignments. Um, Assignment 16, which is only over chapter 18, that's going to be due Sunday night. You have your forum discussion, which is over human computer interface. Um, the initial posting is due on Wednesday, which was yesterday. You guys are all good, right? Okay. If you haven't, please go ahead and make the posting, okay? The final is due on Saturday, and I'm trying to press you guys to do that early because um, if we get the discussion done and out of the way on Saturday, then Sunday you have time to finish focusing on your assignment, which means Monday you can do part one of your midterm two. Okay, so part one of midterm two is an assignment, and that's due on Monday, November 11th. Part two of your midterm, which is over chapters 10 through 18, that's going to be on Tuesday. Okay, and I've changed the number of attempts you can do on this to 3 attempts. So if you already feel comfortable with it, you can go ahead and knock that out right now. Not in class, obviously, but uh, in the next day or so. But we got a lot going on with that. So let's look at next week. Next week, we're going to be looking at chapters 20 and 21, which covers all of the book at this point. We'll be completely done. The project is due November 17th. This is your class project. Okay. So I am tempted to push that out a little bit further to give you another week on top of that. But keep in mind that the final week of class is the 24th through the 30th of November. And we want to make sure that you guys have that week where you can do your presentations in the class of your site. We'll throw it up on the board. Everyone can look at it. You can talk through about what you did, your design decisions, and the purpose of your site and all that. Okay, we want to have that day of class. If everyone takes 5 minutes, that'll take up the entire class doing that discussion that day. Okay. All right. So that discussion though is planned for the 18th to the 24th. All right. On the 25th through the 30th, when you come to class on that Thursday, we're going to do a final review for the exam. We'll do it in class. Um, there's a great quiz site which makes it kind of fun. We'll go through it together, help you guys be prepared, so all of you can ace the exam, right? All right. And then the final exam is to be determined sometime between the 2nd and the 7th. And that's out of my control. That's up to the main office. All right. Any questions so far over this week, next week, and the following 2 weeks after that? Things are going to get busy. Okay. If you have not, or if you are behind with assignments, take the time and push those through. Email them to me. Okay. Because I'll take them. Many of you know that already. I've already took late assignments, and I don't give you full credit, but it helps your grade, right? So take the time and do the assignments, get those to me. If you have not taken one of the quizzes, send me an email, let me know, okay? I was talking to Mr. Will Hunter about it, and although I'm not very familiar with Moodle, he's walking me through the steps of reopening some of the earlier quizzes and earlier midterms so that we can, for those who didn't get the opportunity to take it, can take it. All right, let's move on real quick here. Let's bring up the project. This is the final web design project. There we go. Can everyone see that? So this is the checklist. You want to use this checklist. I'll be turning on next week's lesson on early so you can grab this. And I think it's also available as early as beginning of the of the Moodle class from week 1, I believe. Um, you want to think about your URL, your target audience, the purpose of it, right? Someone give me a sample of what your website's supposed to be about. Anyone stoked about their project? There you go. Okay. Awesome. Right. So Winnie is going to have a URL to a hosting site that she's uploaded all the content to. She's specified her target audience and she has a purpose for the site. It's very important that you think about a purpose, because if you just create a site to create a site, then that doesn't really have a purpose per se. Have a target audience, a purpose for this. It'll make your project go a lot better. All right, so the page layout, there's 15 points for that. Think about the page footer, includes copyright, information, good use of basic design principles, repetition, contrast. Um, think about your colors, what color themes you're going to be working with. Browser compatibility. Uh, I'm going to have to open these in Internet Explorer, Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, Safari, mobile devices. So you want to make sure that it runs, right? So I can just pick up my phone and go, oh, look at Brandon's site here. This is pretty nifty, Brandon. Yeah. I can turn it sideways and it resizes, and right. Um, you want to think about navigation. You don't want to have any broken links. Okay. Broken links mean you click on it and it takes you to a real page instead of, oh, page can't be found, right? Um, So think about your navigation. Make sure that there are clear, concise link representation for them. If you're using an image, make sure the image makes sense for that navigation. Um, this says Flash, but don't use Flash, okay? Does anyone here plan on using Flash? Please don't, because most modern browsers, they don't work with them now. Think about your navigation. Is it structured using an unordered list? Things like that. Um, do you have a sitemap? Okay, breadcrumbs, all of that. Your color scheme. Here it says limit your color scheme to a maximum of 3 or 4 colors plus neutral. What does that mean? That means some of you sent me some links of ugly websites. You remember some of the ugly websites? It hurt your eyes to look at, right? Yeah. Think about just there are some good example websites out there that actually generate sample colors for you, and I recommend use those to style your site. Um, if you have any multimedia, okay, I don't recommend putting your videos on your web hosting, because the free web hosting, you have limited size. So put your videos like on YouTube, and then you can link back to them. And even YouTube gives you uh, the code, the embed code to actually put on your site. Okay. Think about your content presentation, like your fonts. Make sure they're all unified, so you're not using a brush script and then Times New Roman and then Arial and then no. Keep it all consistent and so forth. Okay. This information again is on the site. Um, go out and reference it. It's important. Okay. Last comment here. Some of you have expressed difficulty with web hosting 000 web hosting. Okay. I've got 2 other sites. Uh, this is Free Hostia. Okay. You can use them. And another one I found was called freehosting.com. So Free Hostia. I tell you what I'll do. I'll copy these and put them into the the site here. Let's see. Just create a new slide. Free Hostia and free hosting. And this will be available for you guys to use as reference. If you're having problems, because I honestly, I've had problems with the 000 hosting, web hosting as well. Something bizarre is going on. Okay. If you use one of these sites, though, do me a favor. Make sure you include the entire URL to the site that you put your hosting on, your project. Okay, because it doesn't do us any good if we can't navigate to it. Okay. Let's see here. Any questions then about the final project? You guys are not stressing out, right? No. Take a deep breath, smile, tell each other a joke. This is not hard, but it is tedious sometimes, and tedious sometimes can make your brain hurt when things are tedious. But it's okay. You guys can do it. All right. Let's talk about tables. How many has ever used a spreadsheet? How many you like Excel and things like that, right? Um, HTML tables are designed to hold data content like you would store in Excel. However, they're not like Excel. You can't say sum this column and that column. It doesn't work like that. However, there are some JavaScript libraries out there that will do that, transform an HTML table into with Excel functionality. But that's not our topic today. Our topic is actually how to create tables and the type of data you want to store in them. We're going to look at the structure of tables and then other things like how you span columns and span rows. All right, so here is some sample code that I took off of W3 Schools. This is sample HTML table, right? And the little image on the left is their stylized version of that table. So you can make your tables look very pretty as well, as they did with the CSS. Notice that in these tables, this table structure, you have an open tag table and you have a closed tag table. And then typically you have TR for table row, TH for table header, TD for table cell. I don't know why they call it TD versus TC, but they do. And each of these have open and closing tags. So you always put your TD tags inside of a TR tag for your table row. Your TH tag, you can mix. You can have a TH in a TR as well as a TD next to a TH. XYZ. Things that get confusing here. Okay, so the information you store in Excel spreadsheets, very similar, the type of information you'd want to put into a table. However, it's going to be something more meaningful, right? Let's talk about the table tags, for example. These are the most common that you'll use. The table tag itself, you have the opening and closing table tags. You have a T head, which is the section used for grouping column headings, right? T body is a section used for grouping table body of rows and columns. And then the TR is a section used for identifying a row in a table body. And the TD is a section used for identifying the cell in a row or a TR. The TH is like a TD, except it will always be bold when you use a TH. It makes that content bold. And it's usually used to specify, say on the left side of a table, rows that represent important information, or at the top of a column for information that's important. Okay, so let's take a look at less common table elements. Here we have the caption. And you can see the caption is integrated right inside the table tag. And the caption, really all it does is it just puts just a caption on the table. That's all it does. Um, Nothing too spectacular about it. It's sometimes easier to use a caption instead of a TD with a row span. That's really the purpose of the caption. We'll talk about row spans later, but the caption will span the entire number of columns that you have specified. It'll stretch out naturally. The other less common option is the scope attribute. And I don't have a scope attribute listed in this sample here, but the scope attribute is used for screen readers. It helps screen readers to understand what that row or column is to be used for. Um, when I first started HTML development, I thought tables were awesome because I could lay out an entire web page with a table. And then I found out that doing that messed with people who use screen readers because I would use a table to put my header image on the top of the page, and I'd put my stuff at the bottom of the table, and I would sort things together and even chop up images, and so that the table would put it all together and make it look cohesive. And I found out that that's not at all the way you'd want to do things. When I worked for the Department of the Army, when we were doing websites and web applications, they got on us big time because the military is supposed to be, I forget what it's, uh, all of the sites have to be disabled qualified, meaning anyone who is blind, cannot see, they use these assistive technologies, these page readers. And tables, if you use tables for laying out your content instead of what tables are designed for as being columnar data like spreadsheet data, it messes everything up. All right, so here we have the table head. So here we have the table, we have the caption that runs across the whole length of the table. Then we have the T head, which is the data at the top that represents the labels for each of those columns. The columns would be seen by each of these TH tags. So if I have 4 TH tags inside of a row, let me do it like this. It's probably easier if I just draw this on the board for you to see it. So if I have the TR, this is a row, and I have 4 THs. So I have, there's 1 TH, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. All right, we'll just erase this. These then become the columns, and that's the row, right? So this is the TR, and these are THs, table headers. And you can see that the T8, the T head wraps around this, right? Okay, does that make sense? How these lay out visually? Okay. So then we get to the next one. You have what's called a T body, and inside of it you have one or more TRs, T rows. So let's look at that, right? So you can put a TH down here in the T body. You can put THs anywhere you want to. All they do is they make the content bold, right? But typically down here, this is where you have the TDs. Now, here's a problem you'll run into. If you put content like this, where you have 5 TDs, but you have 4 THs, how do you think it's going to look on the page? It's going to look weird. Okay? It literally will look just like this. You're like, it doesn't make sense, right? Okay. So that is for that part. So let's look at the T body. The T body sits right underneath the T head tags. And you can see that the T body tags, they point to the majority of the data content you're going to have on the page. So again, you have your TR, which is a row, and then you have another TR, which is a row, and inside of that you have your 4 cells. And notice that this one cell actually is using a TH, and the same thing down here. And what that looks like is what you see over here on the side. The TH becomes bold, and then the other data attributes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Just make it blank. No, you can have a TD with empty text, and it will just show as an empty cell. But you need to put the tag, the TD or the TH, otherwise you'll end up with that bizarre looking missing block on your table. Okay. Again, notice here that they've specified a scope, saying that this scope is a row, and they're using that for your table reader devices, assistive technologies, to help it to understand that now the data should be read from left to right. Whereas if the scope was column, we'd be reading from top to bottom across that column, spanning multiple rows. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, you can tell me. Okay. All right. Then you have a lesser known tag that's sometimes used called the T foot. Again, you have opening and closing tag. The T foot can contain one or more TRs. And in general, a T head can have one or more TR rows. Uh, excuse me. You guys ever eat at Cristiano's? It's really good. I'm not trying to bless you with what I ate, but I had a Pepsi, so I'm burping. Excuse me. Okay. Anyways, so T heads, T bodies, T rows, right? 3 main sections within a table. Excuse me, T foot. And they all make sense for what they are. The body, the T body, the table foot, the table head. And you can see how this lays out here. This top where it says quarter, 1962, 1963, 1964, this would be the T head. And you can see I cut off a section above it, and that's the caption. Okay. And then on the side, we have the rows that we're looking at on the last screen. And then at the bottom, we have the T foot. Okay, any questions so far? Yes. Uh-huh. Um, you tables, what they tend to do is they size to the text that's within them. So if you type in, for example, here, the text per quarter is longer than the text for Q1, Q2, and so forth. And the same thing for the total. The table cells themselves will size out to the size of those naturally. If you want to specify a size, then you do that through CSS, and you can say, hey, I only want you to be a certain size, and it will actually cut off, it will hide or obscure some of that text. So, and we'll look at some CSS examples in a minute. Okay, so your table structure. These are the 3 main tags that you see, but these are really just to mark sections. You're not required to use a T head or a T body or a T foot. You can use just TRs and TDs, and it will still display as a table. Okay. Now it's highly recommended that you use the T head, T body, and the T foot because um, the different table readers, and it also becomes effective when you're styling with CSS. Now I'll also tell you this, that as you get into development, you're going to want to use different CSS libraries or JavaScript libraries or things like that, and they require that you have these 3 sections in your tables. And you're going to find that if you try to use, say, like a jQuery library or a Bootstrap library in CSS, they, they won't work. They won't style correctly because you don't have the correct sections, and they require those. So it's a good idea to keep them, but you don't have to. All right. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay. All right, let's look at some styling. This is a very basic styling, and what it's doing is it's taking the data from before and it's changing it into something a little bit a different layout. So we have our body. The body affects everything on the page. We're telling the font to be 100% Courier New or Courier or monospace. We have the table, and we use this thing called border collapse. And trying to remember, border collapse, what it does is it affects the actual TD space. It causes it to squish in to do a little bit. And then you have the caption. We say the font size 0.8125 EM. Everyone remember the algorithm you use to get the EM font size versus the PX? It's good practice to remember that, because everywhere you go from here out, you want to use the EM instead of the PX. All right. Then we have the TH and the TD. And here we're telling them that we want the font size to be this, a little bit larger than the caption. And we tell the padding, we want it to be a 5 EM and a 0.75 EM, so you can see the padding. And then we do this thing called border 1px solid 000. That's basically making it black. So we specify a 1px border around just the TDs. And then we have a T-foot, which I didn't, oh yeah, here it is. The T-foot specifies an italic and bold, okay? And you can do all other kinds of styling as well. All right. A couple other things to remember about tables. If you use a T-head or a T-foot, you have to have a T-body. It just won't work. The page won't render correctly. So a T-body is required anytime you have a T-head or a T-foot. A T-body cannot precede a T-head inside of a table tag. The T-head always has to be above the T-body. And a table can only have one T-head and one T-foot. However, you can have multiple T-body units. So you can have a T-body, a T-body, a T-body, on and on and on. And by doing that, it gives you a little bit more flexibility on styling the page, because you could have each T-body with a different style class, and you could do some different things there. All right, any questions so far? No? You guys are all following this pretty well? All right. All right, so let's talk about table, row, and column spanning. So on the board, I drew that picture where it looks like that strange stair step. I only have 4 columns, meaning 4 THs, but I have 5 TDs on each of the rows. So how would I fix that? Well, you'd fix it with a table span. You could have one header column that spans over two spaces to represent the data that's in those 2 columns. Okay, so for example, in the image on the board, we have a table row that spans 2 rows instead of 2 columns, right? So spanning, it allows you to span multiple rows or span multiple columns. Let's take a little bit further look at this. You can span on a TH or a TD across more than one column or row. You can have, in fact, a TD that spans a row and also spans a column. Okay. The number attributes that you assign to them specify the number of cells that they span. So if I say column span equals 2, I'm spanning my current column and the next one. I would never really put column span 1. That wouldn't make sense, right? Unless I'm doing something programmatically using some other programming language like PHP that's marking up the page for me. But column span equals the number of columns you're wanting to span. Row span equals the number of rows you want to span. So row span of 5 is the row I'm on and the next 4 rows. That gives me 5 rows that it spans completely. Column span and row span will only be written on TDs or THs. You'll never put it on a TR or a T body or a T head or a T foot. It only goes on a TH or a TD because those are specifically cells. All right, so here's another example. If we look at the following code, we have a scope up here that says we have a row group that's going to be for time. And so what that literally means is that right here, it's going to go to the right. All the data to the right is what it's referencing. Excuse me. It's what it references. It spans across the columns. So my header says that I got this item up here that's going to be my time. So if I go down the rows, one of those is, well, you'll notice each of the TRs, the table rows, they have a TH as the first one. So it's saying that that is its scope. It's going to span across those. And then if you look in the first TR, I have a TD of column span of 2, which says, okay, I'm going to go my current cell plus the next over. And then if I go down to the bottom column, the bottom row, I have a row span of 2, which means I've got my row I'm on plus the row it's underneath. All right, let me give you the image, what it looks like. So here is a column span of TD of 2. So we're going from this one and that one. Y'all see that? And then on the next row, we have a row span of 2. This one and that one. Now I kind of cut off the code here, but if I included the next row, which I should have included, it would have only had the 3 elements. It would have had a TR and 2 TDs because I'm spanning down 1 row. You guys see that? It can get confusing, but you have to think about the directionality of the way it goes. TRs are left and right. It's the row. TDs are columns up and down. So if I'm row spanning, I'm spanning from the row I'm on that current cell down a certain number of cells. You guys look a little confused. Yes. In Excel, yes. Yeah. I had to think what you meant there for a second when you said merging. I was like, there is no merging in HTML. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any questions so far on table row and column spanning? No? Okay. Um, as you get into HTML development, especially if you get into other programming languages, you'll use the table tag a lot because it's all about data, about how you represent the data and what you do with that data and how you display the data. And it becomes important to display this in a normal fashion. All right, so let's talk about JavaScript. This chapter kind of makes me weep because this book doesn't really get into any JavaScript. Did y'all know that? It kind of. Oh, I don't need. I'm not like really gonna weep, but um, JavaScript. Does anyone know why it's called JavaScript? By the way, so I'm a geek, right? I'm an IT nerd, and back in 1994, there was this programming language that came out called, anyone know? Java, right? And Java was this object-oriented language, and you could do all of this really fascinating stuff. It had its own garbage collection, and I'm getting way off topic, okay? But there was this other browser that was available at the time, and it was called Netscape. You remember Netscape? All right. Besides me and Winnie, do you remember? Did you ever use Netscape? Okay, so there's three of us in here, I guess, who are old timers. Um, it used to be at the library down here at the Jotin Kidzu Library, and in fact, that's how I used to live here a long time ago. I'd go to the library to surf the internet, and Netscape would come up with that weird looking wheel thing. You know what I'm talking about, right? It had the yeah. Anyways, Netscape, they wanted to create this thing with Java. And they said, hey, let's create our own version of Java, but call it a script and put it inside of Netscape so that you could use it. And it wasn't Java in any way, shape, or form. Java is a very strongly typed language. Strongly typed meaning you declare all your variables as types. Has anyone taken Java before? Okay. You took Java here? Okay. So it's very strongly typed. You have strings and you have dates and you have decimals and ints and doubles and floats and all of these different variables. In JavaScript, you have var. That's it. And a var could be a date, it could be a string, it could be a number, it could be anything. Well, all right, I'm getting way off topic, but this is me geeking out on you guys. Um, Microsoft came up with their own competing language that they were going to use in the browser, and it was called VB Script, Visual Basic Script. And I think VB Script actually still runs in some older versions of Internet Explorer, I think 8 and 9. But the world was competing back and forth between JavaScript and VB Script, and then finally everyone said, Microsoft, you stink. You suck. We're not doing VB Script. We're doing JavaScript. And so then IE adopted JavaScript, and then Firefox came along and they did JavaScript. Chrome did JavaScript. Everybody did JavaScript. And then they changed the name, and it's not even called JavaScript anymore. It's called Emacs script. But we'll just call it JavaScript to keep it simple. All right. So with JavaScript, you can do a lot of cool things. All right. You can actually do calculations. You can parse data. You can parse strings. You can cause the images to appear and disappear on the. You can do everything you want inside the browser with JavaScript. You can even write data to the browser's cache, and the next time you come back to your browser, it will read from its local cache the data that you stored in it as its own form of data. You can do all these things with JavaScript. And so you have three ways you can do it. All right. Loading external scripts, embedding scripts, and we'll talk about JavaScript events. So JavaScript allows you to define special behavior. CSS allows you to define things like the styling. JavaScript allows you to determine the behavior of how you interact with the web page. Things like mouse events, typing on the keyboard, on your phones, touch events, right? Losing focus, gaining focus, and there's a bunch more. This is not in your textbook. I put this in here because I think this is good for you to know. JavaScript is one of those things, as you do web development, it's important that you spend some time figuring it out. Okay. And one of the primary libraries and tools that you'll use in JavaScript development is called jQuery. And I recommend that you kind of go through the W3 Schools site and look at the jQuery reference. You're not going to get graded for it in this class, but if you're going to go into any type of software development or web development, jQuery is a must. And you can see the statistic I posted here, 73% of all websites on the internet, they use jQuery. And the reason is just like some CSS pseudo classes only exist on certain browsers, it's the same thing in JavaScript. Some JavaScript ways you code it don't work on the next browser. And jQuery levels the playing field, and you can do everything in all browsers using jQuery. They handle all of the weirdness between browsers, and I recommend it. The other library that's good to know is called React. So jQuery handles events and how you process things in the background. React is just like your regular HTML. It allows you to create forms and objects on the page. And 70% of all developers have used it. And then you get into even more advanced like AngularJS, Angular 2. Now they're at, I think, Angular 5 already. Bootstrap, and there's a whole lot more. All right, these are all JavaScript external libraries. And as you get into this more, you're going to find yourself saying, you know what, I need to include some of these other libraries on my page. And this is how you do it. Inside your head tag, you put a script tag with a source equals the location of the file. And that JavaScript file then is loaded on your page when the browser loads the page. Keep in mind, though, that it is the first thing that's loaded on your page. It will precede any images. It will precede any CSS. It will cause your page to slow down and to a standstill if you have a lot of logic going on in that JavaScript file. So because of that, it's recommended that you put your JavaScript tag for loading external code all the way at the bottom inside the body tag. It's just the general recommendation. All right, here's an example of the jQuery code, source code. This is a CDN, and this is actually live, and if I click on it, it will take me to that site, and you can see some of the jQuery JavaScript code, the entire library. And if you wanted to read it, you could. All right, so it's plain text, it's readable. You just use that syntax, source equals the location, and then it's made available on your page, and you can do all kinds of cool things with it. All right. If you go to start writing a lot of your own scripts, you want to put them in your own, just like you have a CSS directory or an images directory, include some type of assets directory like JS. I typically call mine the JS folder. And inside of that, I sometimes have my app code, and then I have another folder called vendor code. And for my vendors, I put all of the libraries like jQuery. For all of my app code, I put that in the app folder. Here is an example of minified JS. And it's not done so it makes it easy for you to read. It's done so that it loads faster. Minified JS is designed this way because it removes all the spaces and new line elements. And so by doing that, it makes the file smaller and it loads quicker. Any of your minified libraries, I recommend that when you're doing development, you have the full text library so you can use your debugger and go through them. If you're deploying the application, you want to swap it out and use the minified. And when you do that, you want to have the name.min.js for minified. Otherwise, for unminified scripts, you just say .js. Okay. Any questions so far? Some of you, I see you're nodding off. I moved into boring land. And all right. So this gets to the other side of it. Say you write some JavaScript files and you got all of this logic out there and it's a huge file, but you want to make your site run quicker. How do you minify it yourself? There's 3 different places you can go. You can go to Uglify.js. It's a really creative name. You can go to Google Closure Compiler or the UE compressor. This is the yahoo.com tool for compressing libraries, and they can compress your JavaScript file into a minified version. Additionally, you can embed your scripts on the page. So embedding your scripts is just like having them externally, but you're just including all of the content right on your HTML page. Do not do this if you have more than 20 lines of code, okay? Because you're slowing your browser way down, and it makes your page very hard to read if you have this huge stack of JavaScript in there. So only do this for small elements, okay? Small little tricks or things that you need to do, something that's necessary to have it close to the element, the HTML element that you're referencing. All right? Any questions with that? All right. Here we're going to get to the other important thing about it. When you're embedding a script, you can put it in the top of the page, you can put it in the bottom of the page, you can put it anywhere on the page you want, as long as it's inside the body tag, above the body tag at the bottom of the page. However, if you have a script tag like this and you put code in it and then you go, oh, I'm also going to reference, you can't do that. The script either has to be used for embedding your own code or it has to reference an external code. You can't do both at the same time. It just won't work. All right. And I believe that is it on including scripts and embedding them. Any questions so far on embedding scripts? All right. The heart and soul of this, of JavaScript, is the events. So these are a small selection of events. There's also touch events that are available for phones and Androids and tablets and so forth, or even if you have a touch-enabled laptop, right? So on blur means when the keystroke or the mouse, that element, whatever you're on, loses focus. So you can have an event where you type in something and you go to click somewhere else and it fires off an event, a piece of JavaScript code, when you take your mouse off of that object. There's some events where it's called on change, where it only fires after you have changed the data that's in that element. So it could be a drop down, it could be radio buttons, it could be text within the text box, whatever it is. But after you have changed, it will fire it off. Sometimes it's on click, sometimes it's double click, and you've experienced that with your own applications, right? You have an application you've loaded on your Windows box and you can click on something and it'll do it. Other times it requires you to double click. You have on focus, which is the opposite of on blur. On focus means as soon as that item has focus, it fires the event. Key down versus key up. Okay, you got to think about what that means. If you press the key down, it fires the event, whereas when you take your finger off the key, it fires the event. Key press, key up, very similar. On load, the page loads. As soon as the page loads, you say, when the page loads, kick off this event. Do this piece of code that I wrote. On mouse down, on mouse move, on mouse out, on mouse over. On mouse over is very interesting. Before your pseudo classes of colon hover were available for CSS, we used to use the on mouse over event to do things. On reset, which is where you have a form, you click the reset button. On select, which is usually referring to uh, one of those drop down boxes, a select menu, and then of course on submit. And that is it. Okay, that was a lot of information. Let's take a look at the assignment for this week. Any questions so far? All right. Did I get everyone? Make sure I check this again because you guys get a grade for this. Everyone was signed in? Yes. All right. Has anyone done the assignment already? No? All right. Let's take a look at the assignment. You guys are free to follow along on your own desktops. This shouldn't be too difficult to do. Two people have already done it. Okay, so we're going to create an HTML5 and CSS file, and we're going to make the following table. All right. So let's do that. What's that? Oh, let's see. This is, what was it? Homework 18? Is that what it was? Okay. All right. So we're going to create, what was the name of the file we're going to create? We're going to create that file, right? Oops. Copy, not cut. All right, so we're going to create that one. And then we're going to create what else? CSS. All right. Where are you at? File. It's opening so slow. Open project folder. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the first one. So we're going to do our HTML. Going to write our table tag, right? And what do we need to include on this? So it looks like there is a table header and a caption. Now let's see, that is an H1, right? So we got a heading to style. Oh, there's our cheat sheet, right? So we got H2. We're going to call this, what are we calling this? You guys help me out so I don't have to keep toggling. What is that H2 supposed to say? Chapter 18 dash what? Tables. Okay. Oh, you printed it out. Thank you. All right. And what's that? Extra credit. All right, so we're going to add a caption, and the caption is table 1, company what does that say? Data? All right, company data. All right, I'm going to open this file up here so we can look at it. Idea projects, homework. All right, so there's that. Boy, that looks ugly, doesn't it? All right, well, let's just get our HTML lined out. All right, then we need to create, let's see, a T head. And inside the T head, we have a TR. I like using this functionality. It makes it easier. And this TH, and this TH, and this TH, and one more TH. Okay. And I'm going to copy this again. And on this one, we have a row span of 2, which means I will remove that one, that TH there. And then here we have a row span of 2, which means I'll remove that TH, right? And this one we have a column span of 2, so I'll remove that TH, and I'll type employees there. And this one is founded, and down here is men, and that is women. Does that make sense what I've done? Let's see how it looks. Yeah, that works so far. Styling is way off. Okay, so now we're going to add a T-body. And we have how many cells here? We have 3 rows, right? We have 2 rows. 2 rows. And we have a TH for the first column. We have a TD, whoops, a TD, a second TD. Our first TD is going to say NMC Incorporated. Then for our men column, it's 700. You guys are following along, right? Because I'm giving you a gimme right now. Oh, someone's recording it. Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm recording it as well, so you don't have to do that. All right, and then the last one is 1947. Okay, we got another TR tag. This one is, again, a TH. And this one is NYC Corp. Another TD tag. This one is 1200. Another TD tag. Do you guys like the autocomplete functionality in this thing? I love it. I hate typing, so. All right, 800. And then the final one is a TD for, oops, TD, my spacing got off. 1973. All right, so that is my T body. And then down at the bottom, I've got a T foot with 1 row. And I have a TH. This one is called sum. And I have another TH. This is called 1900. And I have another TH. And this one is blank. All right, let's see what this looks like. I forgot the type of column, didn't I? I did. Let's see, 1900 TH. There we go. That's what I was missing. All right. So there we go. That's the basic layout of it. And then at the bottom, I guess that is a paragraph tag. I don't know. Let's just put it as a paragraph tag. Provided by Michael Rogers CS222. All right, let's take a look, see what that does. Yeah, it kind of works. All right. So there's our HTML. All right, who is ready to jump into the CSS now? Don't be scared. Let's start with an H2 tag. And our H2 style, what is that? Let's put a body tag first, right? And for our body, we're going to say font family. I'm going to say Tahoma because I like Tahoma. For Dana, Arial, Helvetica. All right, got to include up here the style. Whoops, wrong one. The link, and this is H1-CH18. That's CSS, right? All right. Let's take a look at it. All right, so there, it's taking some of our initial styles. All right. The caption is what? Let's just take out this for a second. Caption is using a font size of 0.815 EM. It is font weight of bold and margin bottom of 0.5 EM. Okay, there we go. The cell background is cyan for number 3. And so how do you think we should do that? You think we should do a TH or a TD to get that color of cyan? Which one do you think? You want to do TD? All right, let's do TD and see what happens. Background color, cyan. Is that what you wanted? But that doesn't match this though. So are you sure it's a TD we want to do? I'm messing with you. I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I? All right, let's make this a TH. Oh, well, that's closer, but not quite right, right? I like this blue better than I like that blue. All right, so what are we missing here? What do you think we're missing? The cell background is cyan, but the way we defined our tables, you'll notice that the T foot is all using THs, right? So what we'd have to do is actually change these. That's weird. Why did I do that? To make that work the way it's supposed to. Now if I refresh it, it does that, right? That makes more sense. And that way we can set the color of all of the THs to one thing, right? All right. So what is the next one it's asking us to do? The sum and its value in the last row are bold. So that would be, so let's think about how to specify that. T foot, right? We could say font style is italic, font weight is bold. Oops. Does that give us the same quality? Yeah, that worked, right? So we use the T foot tag to style the bottom. Okay. The next one tells us that the cell row span is 2 and the cell column span is 2. And we've already done that, right? So 5 is 2, 6 is 2, and 7 is 2. Let's take a look at this again. So 5 is a row span of 2. 6 is a row span of 2. And 7 is a column span of 2. So yep, we've already done that. Okay. The only other thing that's kind of missing here to make this look like what we have over here on this is adding some black lines, right? All right. How do you think we would accomplish that? What do you think happens if we use a table? We're just going to play around and just see what happens, right? All right, so table, border, 1px, solid, black. What do you think will happen? Do you think each of the individual cells or only around the table? Yeah, it's only around the table. Well, and that's something. All right, so let's go back in here again. So what about if we do TD? Well, let's just do TR. What do you think will happen now? Did I save? All right. Nothing happens. Why do you think that nothing happened? TRs are notional, right? They're not stylable in that sense for a border. Well, how about a TD? What do you think will happen? Whoa. Well, that's no fun. And it's got this weird thing going on in there, right? Okay. I know the solution to this because I've done this like 1,000 times, okay? I'm just trying to get you all to think about it. These little spaces in between the cells used to drive me batty, okay? It really did. So what do you think? What if I do this? Oh, that didn't work because remember TRs don't really help, but THs? Okay. Snap, right? Ah, okay. We're getting closer though, right? Do you feel like we're getting closer? Yeah. All right. There's still some other things that we got to do in here. Let's our table. They don't. It feels kind of the width feels kind of weird, right? What do you think we should put? You want to put 5 pixels? I don't want to put 5 pixels. I don't think that'll work. How about something like this? What do you think? Yeah. Now, why would I do that? Because I can do that, right? But if I did this, oh, I got to refresh it first. There we go. Now it does in size, right? So percentages become important, especially if you're using like a mobile device. I got to refresh again. There we go. Okay. Well, let's add something else to the table. How about, let's see, border 1px. Did I save it? No. I said I've done this 1,000 times, and now I can't remember. What do you think we got to do here to get that weird spacing to go away? What do you think? You guys are just watching me flail, aren't you? Like, ah, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, what are you doing? That's right. Forgot. What do we put? Ah, there you go. Awesome, Leonard. Leonard Skinnerd. Yes. Yeah. So how will we do that? You think it should be in here? Should it be all TDs and all THs do this? Should it be a style class? How would you do this? Looking at this image, how would we want to do that? I think that let's let's do this. So we have a T foot that has a TR that has a TH, and we're going to say is it alignment? What is it called? You remember the styling? not T foot. What is it? We want T head, right? Uh, vertical. Nope. I can't remember the alignment call. Do you remember what it is? CSS alignment. It's okay if you don't know things to go and look it up. Okay. All right. So text align. There we go. Text align is center. And that that already kind of did what it was supposed to do, right? Because they're already text aligned. But yeah. So those are T body, TD, right? And we want those to be text aligned to be what? Left, right. That worked, right? Okay. The one at the bottom didn't do it. Why didn't the bottom do it? Because this was supposed to be T foot, TD, right? Whoops. There you go. Well, so I have, remember I'm nesting, right? So I'm referencing first the outer body, T body, and then the next child, which is the TD. Yeah. If I did this, that would just be weird. Okay. All right. What else can we do here? We're almost out of time, guys. There is some other things inside this that need to happen. Um, so for the TDs and the TH, we could probably add a padding of, let's say, 5px by, let's do this, 12px by 5px. That makes sense? Gives a little bit more visual padding. Probably 5 is not enough, though. Let's go to maybe 8. That works a little bit better, right? Okay. So this is tables and CSS in a nutshell. Right. You guys get it? Yeah. Say thank you, Mr. Rogers, for doing my homework. Okay. Of course, you guys have to make sure you recreate this on your own. And, you know, if you want to change, I'll tell you this, if you want to change up the data and put something, other interesting data in here, you can. It's up to you. Okay. If you wanted to put images in a table cell, you can. And that's often a valid way of representing data. Okay, that is it for today. The project. Make sure you guys are thinking about that. Okay. If you have not done your homework or you're behind on some assignments, listen, I still take it. Okay. I want you guys to learn this stuff. This is fun stuff. Okay. All right. Any questions before we close? Anybody? All right. You'll have a good day. All right. Let's